Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion. Wow, what a No Kings 2 day it has been. I hope you got out today. I got out to not just one, but two rallies, and I am really excited to share with you briefly here this evening, not just my reflection first, but also some photos second, which I'll be sharing in a post right after this one. Let's begin, y'all, as we always begin here at Uncommon Communion, by recognizing, realizing, celebrating, and affirming that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of God and each other. Well, I don't know where you were today. I hope you were out, and I hope that you had as beautiful of a day as we did here in Central Ohio. And I'll tell you what, it is hard to be too excited about an 80-degree plus day in the end of October when normally the high today would be probably in the 50s. But today, of course, where we were, as I mentioned, was in the low 80s. But it got people out. And I was so excited to be one of those people. I got to go out with my friend Mark. I've shared about Mark here. I'm going to share some photos in the other posts that I'll be doing. But Mark and I started early at 11 o'clock. And one of the things that was amazing about these rallies today, y'all, is the coordination and the planning that they did within metro areas. Here in Columbus, there was something like 10 or 15 individual actions all around the metro area. And many of them were set up time wise so people could go to multiple ones, just like Mark and I did. And we saw other people who did that as well. And then the big one at the Columbus, Ohio based State House was later in the day. So folks could go to these satellite ones, go to these smaller ones, and then come together and celebrate right there at the State House. Now, I've been to the State House for numerous other protests during this era, and I didn't get to go today. But the two that I went to were really quite something. So the first one was in a place called New Albany, and just if you're not a Columbusite person, yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about that just to kind of set the context. If you are a Columbus person, bear with me. So, New Albany is a relatively new community out on the northeastern part of the metro. Traditionally, the wealth in Columbus has been on the east or the west side, but here in the northeast side, very close to where I live, is this development of New Albany. Now, a gentleman whose name was just in the news today. As a matter of fact, the New York Times was talking about him today, and the 70 million, I think it was, gift that he gave to Jeffrey Epstein, that was Les Wexner, and he's all over New Albany and all over Central Ohio, and apparently all over the Epstein files. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. But New Albany is a place of kind of new money, and this was their first rally there today in this cycle, in this era. And I was talking to one of the organizers. It was right there on their main drag, kind of right in front of their town hall and other sort of municipal buildings, the post office, and others. And they said there were about 550 people there. And that was wonderful to see. I was very happy to see that. And for that rally, and also for the second one that I went to, there were multiple cars that would pass, honking their horns in support. People were waving flags. People were giving us the finger. People were, kind of giving us shakes. But they noticed us. They noticed us. And that's the thing that days like today are all about. Whether you saw it on TV, whether you witnessed one, whether you drove near one, it is about seeing people out in a positive way. And that was the thing that was amazing about both of these rallies, that they were loud, they were joyful, they were positive, and they were all generations, all ages. I saw people in their 80s and I saw people that were 8 and quite a few of, both of those. And it was a day of witness and a day of disproving the narrative that the MAGA people, MAGA Mike Johnson and others wanted to say. They were saying these are people that hate America. These are people that are Antifa and George Soros, all that garbage, all those lies, because they lie, you know. And anybody who saw this, drove by, would witness the truth, which is these are people out standing up for America, supporting democracy because of love of America and because of love of each other. So after that rally ended, Mark and I took a little break. We went over to Westerville. Now, I don't live in Westerville anymore. I used to. My wife works for the school district. We live in the school district. It's bigger than the city. We both of our kids went to Westerville schools, graduated there. The winery where I work on Saturdays is in Uptown, the main historic part of Westerville. And I got to say this, y'all. I've been to other No Kings rallies there. I've also been to 4th of July parades there. And the previous rallies that I've been to there in Uptown Westerville maybe had 1,000 people, maybe had 1,500 people. Today, y'all, it was amazing. My guess, this is a non-professional guess, but knowing how far they stretched all the way from Church of the Messiah, this is for my locals here, in the north, all the way down to the library and past in the south. And that was probably at least a half mile and maybe even more. And in the heart of it, right by City Hall, right by Java Central, right there in the middle of that stretch, people were so deep you could not walk on the sidewalk. It was that full. My guess, y'all, is 3 to 4,000 people, or one or two or three times as many as had shown up before. And again, y'all, there were people in costumes, there were people who were singing, there was some musicians. I'm going to send some photos, share some photos. That's going to be my next post after this one. And I really hope that you get a feel, a flavor of what it was like to see this and to be there. It was truly amazing. Also, as I mentioned, that the cars were passing, and in Westerville, even more were cars that were in support, waving flags, showing signs of support. But we also got some Trumpists, people that were giving thumbs down. I saw a couple fingers. There was a dude in a car that had Trump flags and all of that. He only passed once, which was good. But I saw two other vehicles that were interesting, and one was concerning. It was one of those people that they feel like it's okay to show photos of aborted fetuses, just anywhere they want, right? And that is sick and that is grotesque, because there's lots of other things that we don't show, right? We don't show victims of war. We don't show children or others in mass shootings. We don't show car crash victims, right? So we should not show any kind of photos. And the folks that show those are just demented and also, I think, wrong. And there was a dude driving a truck, flat screen TVs, high def, was showing this. And I'll tell you what, y'all, he had his eyes forward. He was not looking at anyone. He had no expression. I saw him numerous times. He drove by actually at both rallies. And he looked like a zombie. He looked like a ghost. He did not look happy. And I'm going to tell you this, y'all. I'm going to pray for that man. I don't know his name, but I am actually seriously praying for him, because, y'all, that's not well. When you feel you have to do that, where kids are around, where people are around, where that's how you feel you need to make a statement, that you're not well. And prayers to a person like that. I want to close, though, with the opposite that I saw. And this was a truck that looked like it was maybe off of a farm. It was like a serious working truck. And there were 3 or 4 young white men in it. And they had American flags that were upside down. They had signs that were supporting the No Kings movement that we were doing. So they were allies. They were pro-democracy. They were out there passing back and forth, being noticed, making a statement. And again, I didn't talk to them. I would have loved to have talked to them, because they just looked different and maybe perhaps converts to this movement. I don't know. But they were making a statement. They were making a stand. They were showing their faces, and they were out there lending their support. I want to close with a little reading from a book that I've started in my rotation of devotions, of reflections. Frederick Buechner. This is from today. And I want to read the very beginning and the end because I think this sums up what I saw more than anything else today. He talks about virtue. And he says at the very beginning, he says, next to the seven deadly sins, the seven cardinal virtues are apt to look pale and unenterprising, but appearances are notoriously untrustworthy. And he goes on to describe the seven cardinal virtues and how each one can maybe be seen by some people as kind of plain and kind of boring. But then he gets to the end. He says this: maybe it's only love that turns things around and makes the seven deadly sins be the ones to look pale and unenterprising for a change. Greed, gluttony, lust, envy, and pride are no more than sad efforts to fill the empty place where love belongs, and anger and sloth just two things that may happen when you find that not even all seven of them at their deadliest ever can. And y'all, I think that's powerful because love is attractive. Love is something everyone is seeking. And sadly, so many in power today, in public spaces, in the US government and elsewhere, are about those sins: greed, gluttony, lust, envy, pride, anger, and sloth, all over the place. And I think what Buechner is getting at here, which I think is a truth of just deep wisdom, that everyone is seeking love. And when we, for whatever reason, can't find it, we take the substitutes, the seven deadly sins. But in the end, it is only love that saves. It is only love that gives us joy. It is only love that brings us to community, true community, like we saw today, right? Community where all were welcome, community where there was joy and laughter and mirth and humor and goodness. So I pray for maybe some of those pro-Trumpers, those MAGAites that were driving by and maybe saw and were a little bit converted. I pray for the guy driving that vile screens around. And I pray for everyone that was out there. And I pray for you and for me as we look forward to No Kings 3. I don't know if they've announced that yet, but I can't wait. I'm pumped. And that's where the power is. People got the power, y'all. You and me, we. All right, y'all, blessing and good. Look for another written reflection with photos, a little bit on the gospel. It is a good one, liturgically, fits right into this. And as always, y'all, blessing and good. Be bold, be well.